Game 4 is upon us on a Friday the 13th. Are the Pacers going to be the last to survive, or is OKC like Jason in the hockey mask, unkillable, slowly stalking its prey? Speaking of horror movies, the Phoenix Suns. Are they planning to move KD next week, and is Miami the team best positioned to facilitate a deal? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories every day with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network, it's Matt Moore. Matt, quick prediction. Will the winner of Game 4 win the NBA title?
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, the winner of Game 4 will win the NBA title because the Thunder are going to win Game 4.
Oh, giving away the prediction. We'll find out why in just a moment. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize, and Haize is sporting the NBA shirt a la, yeah, there you go, a la Rob Lowe in the NFL hat. He's just cheering for a good game, folks. But I'll give it the same question to you. Will the winner of Game 4 win the NBA title?
Yeah, you know what? I've started to embrace just arguing with Matt Moore, so I'm going to say yes because the Pacers are going to win the NBA title.
Oh, yeah,
we're just coming out taking a hatchet to Doug's rundown right now, just like absolutely murdering it here on Friday the 13th. Get it?
Just hold on to those predictions because I want to find out why both of you are on opposite ends of the fence here. But the Pacers are at home again for Game 4 with a 2-1 lead. Turning Game 5 into an elimination game may require as complete a game as we saw from them in Game 3. Here's Tony East with more.
In Game 3, the Pacers bench was just sensational. That was my first segment of a finals game, was running through the Benedict Mathurin dominance, the perfect TJ McConnell game. The steals on the inbounds, the flip shots that everyone's like, wait, a 6'1" guy just made that? 5 assists, actually able to get in the lane against a good Thunder defense. And Obi Toppin, who just has this gazelle-y, jumpy pace element add to the game that the Thunder don't really have on their team. The Pacers got star stuff from both their stars for the first time. When Siakam is just crushing every small. There's not really anything the Thunder can do about that if they start the 4 guards because J-Dub is their second biggest player. And Halliburton finally found space to wiggle and make floaters and be more Halliburton-y. I don't think the Thunder can let both of them have that kind of game because the rest of the starters weren't even that good and the Pacers still won.
Halliburton-y, gazelle-y, jumpy. The Pacers were all kinds of E in Game 3, but can they repeat in Game 4? Huge performances from the bench, Matt, or the Pacers stars starring, particularly in the first half. Which of those do they need to carry over in order to win Game 4?
Guys at the bench because they've won the Halliburton minutes by a considerable margin, even when not considerable, a good margin, even when Halliburton hasn't necessarily had great performances individually. So when he does have a great one, that helps for sure, but they can still win because of the way that Halliburton shapes the game. But in those non-Halliburton minutes is really where they've struggled. And they were honestly, I thought, behind the 8 ball after that first quarter. And then the bench unit comes in and just turns everything around. And TJ McConnell's 1,700 Grand Theft Alvarados was like a huge part of that. They need to get those contributions from him. They need to get the contributions from Mathurin. I do think that part of this is because of how Carlisle changed his rotation, putting Nesmith into that second unit, changing his rotations. Haize, my biggest question is like, how are the Thunder going to adapt to that? Are they going to try and counter it? Or are they just going to once again, nope, we're going to keep to our process and do what we do? Or are they going to actually play a little bit of counter ball here?
Yeah, that's the question. So Mike Daigneault talked a little bit about it, I think yesterday, in which he talked about the adjustment, looking at the tape, seeing what they need to do to adjust. And I tell you this, Coach D, you better start making those adjustments because if you don't, like trying to get by off vibes, I guess I get it, especially when you've beaten teams by such a historic margin all season long. But you're going to have to do more than that. And I think this next mini series and these next 4 games in this is going to be important to the X's and O's part. And Mike Daigneault has to catch up because right now Rick Carlisle's coaching circles around him. So I do hope that they're not just relying on things breaking for them if they keep doing the same thing. You have to make adjustments because the Pacers have made adjustments and they're not going to stop. They're not going to rest on their laurels. They're going to keep making minor adjustments until you force them to make a bigger one. And then even then, they're going to be prepared to do it. So I hope that Coach Daigneault is really ready for that.
Haize, what's like the minimum stat line Halliburton's got to have for a win?
I mean, we've seen them win. It's a little different against I think minimum, we're talking about 16, 8, and 6 at a minimum, probably more like 18, 8 and 6, something like that. Is what you need from Halliburton to get a win over the Thunder?
Is that a line with you, Matt? Do you think that's a good stat line?
You know, that assist number is like the real key here because he pops off and has 11 in game 3. And that's where I think OKC really lost the plot. If you go back and you watch, like 3 of those were in transition and 3 of them were in basically just like not broken play, but not like a pick and roll or isolation leverage. It wasn't like he brought the defense over and then kicked. It was just like he passed it to a guy who was open and he shot it. It was just spot ups. And like the Thunder's attention to detail that they've talked about that's a large part of it. You could honestly, I really do think there's some stuff they can do. We'll talk about with Halliburton defensively for the scoring side, but they got to just be like more attuned and be the usual sharp pack of demons that they've been all season because they can't be allowing that many assists to Tyrese Halliburton.
Well, so you heard Tony East in that clip discuss Pascal Siakam punishing Smalls. And, of course, they made the big adjustment in Game 1, the Thunder did, to remove Ihart from the lineup. They put Case and Wallace in there. The crew over on Game Night, Locked On NBA Game Night on this feed, Jake Madison, John Corrales were on last night, and they said it's time to go back to the double big for OKC in the starting lineup and in crunch time. Haize, do you agree with that assessment?
Yes. They should have never moved away from it, in my opinion. I get it. You don't have much size off the bench if you go to that lineup, but you can figure out a way to stagger minutes or whatever else. I think that they have to go to that double. That's the best adjustment they can force the Pacers into that I don't think that they're going to have the easiest way to kind of counteract that. So going to that double big lineup, I think is a key here for the Thunder over the remaining of this series.
Here's what I love. Okay. So the Pacers come in with the best starting unit in the playoffs, plus 16.4 was their net rating. That's incredible. And so Dags goes to the small ball lineup with Case and Wallace in part to counter it. And it works. The Pacers with Halliburton, Siakam, and Turner on the floor have been bad. They've been outscored. That's why the Pacers are having to come back in all these games because OKC started up in most of these games by the end of the first quarter. But what happens? It's the other lineups. It's the other 3-man combos. They're losing all of those. Like he sacrificed to win this part of the game and then has lost all the other ones. He's won one battle and lost a bunch of the others. So yeah, I think it's probably worth going back to the 2 big. If not, go to Alex Caruso in the starting unit because I think that you can play a little bit more. Like you can play small ball and it's entirely different when you've got Caruso versus Case and Wallace. Kaysen can't take the bigs like Caruso can and flop and really honestly foul them and get away with it because we don't call smalls and bigs the same way. But still, that's like a lot more effective, and that keeps Dort on Tyrese Halliburton. That to me makes a lot of sense as a primary adjustment to make here in Game 4. But again, I'm worried that Daigneault's going to be like, nope, can't do that. Like, can't get away from our game plan. The game plan is sound. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. You're neither trusting what got you here with 2 big, nor are you trusting trusting yourself to make adjustments since it hasn't worked the way that you wanted. Like, you're losing both sides of this. I really think Dags is the biggest issue here.
All right, coming up on Locked On NBA, we will go back to that crossover episode here once again from Tony East and Rylan Stiles as we preview Game 4 of the NBA Finals. And later in the show, Kevin Durant, could he be moved as soon as next week? And are the Miami Heat best positioned to actually make a deal happen? We'll hear from Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Olipop. There's nothing like the sound of cracking open a can of soda, especially if that soda is also good for your bod. I hold in my hand here a can of Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda. It's made for people who love the classic taste of soda. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar. There's 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips that script completely with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and gut-friendly ingredients. I can have a can of soda during the show to help take the edge off of Matt and Haize's hot takes, and instead of feeling guilty about the sugar, I feel great about getting a third of my daily fiber. You know what fiber helps you do, right? Look it up. Get a free can of Olipop. Just buy any 2 cans in store and they will reimburse you for one. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. We really appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube as well, where you can watch us. Let's get back to this game for tonight between the Pacers and the Thunder. And I want to go back to the crossover episode where Tony and Ryland discuss one of the more talked about elements of Game 3 on social media, how gassed the Thunder looked.
It's now gone viral as a screenshot, but it was very noticeable in the game too, of like dead ball moment, Thunder, all their players, hands on the knees, wheezing, catch your breath. But was there a gassed element to you to this? Are people overthinking this because of it? Oh, if like had the Thunder won, no one would be talking about this. Like, how do you feel about their late game execution in that way?
Yeah, they obviously did not execute well down the stretch of this game, and I think that it's a legit factor for SGA specifically. Whenever the Thunder did concede way too many switches, and the Pacers did a great job of getting Shai into every single action, to where he's having to work really hard defensively, harder than he typically does have to work on that end of the floor, which is affecting his offensive game, affecting his legs in a big way. The Thunder have to be better at fighting through those screens.
SGA was asked about the fatigue factor after the game and said, quote, "You got to suck it up, get it done, and try to get a win. Is there anything the Thunder can do, Haize, to counter what Pacers analysts called the wear-down effect of Indiana's attack?"
No, I mean, I think the Thunder, like, it's not like the Thunder have restricted their bench. Like, they still go super deep into their bench. I mean, I guess they can try to figure out a better balance of minutes, but I think that they're just going to have to deal with it. That's part of what the Pacers do. That's part of their whole attack. Like, they just wear teams down, and the Thunder are probably doing the best that you really can with it. So I don't know if they can, other than trying to slow them down and turn it into a half-court game, but then at that point in time, it doesn't help the Thunder because they're not a half-court team. So right now, I think the Pacers are just looking at the Thunder and saying, yeah, we could run with you. How long can you keep it up?
Why is Shai the only guy that played 40 minutes in that game? Why is he the only one that played 40 minutes in that game? That's my question. Of all these guys, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Casey Wallace, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, why is Shai the only one that plays 40 minutes? It's like, well, he's their best player. Yeah, but you don't need to win the series with offense. You're a defensive team first. Why are you not playing Lou Dort 40 minutes? Why are you not having him? The other thing is they played drop coverage versus Tyrese Halliburton. What are you doing? Like, and then part of that is like, well, that's easier on Shai. Okay, then switch it. Oh, but then they're just going to target Shai on those. Okay, then blitz it. I'm sorry. Sometimes you're going to have to blitz to get in rotation if you don't want Shai getting attacked like this, because they know Shai is their primary initiator and their entire tactic is wearing him down. So like you do have to get a little bit outside of your comfort zone here. This is the finals. You're down 2-1. You're going to have to counter this a little bit. By the way, shout out to Ryland for not just taking the default of this is just a narrative and this is just what people say. Like, he's done that like 1,700 times this season. So shout out for him for actually acknowledging that sometimes people do know what they're talking about. It's my weekly Ryland Styles unnecessary shot because Ryland does a great job. I think there are things that they can do, but a lot of it is you should play some guys longer. Like Lou Dort needs to play 40 minutes unless he's in foul trouble. Alex Caruso needs, I know this is tough because everyone loves Alex Caruso, but he only ever plays like 30 minutes a game max in the playoffs. Alex Caruso is going to have to play north of 35. Keep your best defenders on the floor. You need to win this game with defense. Understand who you are. You're not going to beat the Pacers with offense. Quit playing into their hands.
All right, you've already spoiled your Game 4 predictions of who you think is going to win. Haize, will start with you. Why do you think the Indiana Pacers are going to take a 3-1 lead heading back to Oklahoma City?
2 reasons. They don't lose at home very often. They're just one of the best home teams overall in this playoff run. I think they have shown themselves to be a better, more well-prepared team. I think they have the momentum in this series as well. And I think just overall the confidence level that I have in the Pacers to adjust no matter what the game looks like. I think I trust them to adjust to more ways, and I think the Thunder can adjust. The Thunder, they're going to rely on their defense. They're going to rely on forcing turnovers, and they need Shea to have a big game. But I think the Pacers are more equipped to try to win in way more ways than what the Thunder are. So that's why I have confidence in the Pacers in this series.
Matt, I believe the Thunder are only 4-4 on the road in the playoffs so far. But why do you think they will get to 5-4 and win Game 4? Going back to OKC.
Indy has not won both 3 and 4 in any of these series. Lost Game 3 to Milwaukee, lost Game 3 to the Cavs, lost Game 3 to the Knicks, right? Now they win Game 3 versus the Thunder, but they haven't gotten out of both these games. The other thing is here, OKC does have adjustments it can make, and I have to believe that Mark Daigneault is not going to be so stubborn as to get into this. It doesn't seem right that a guy that has built a roster, he's talked about how one of the things he likes is how the Thunder players, they've developed them to be able to do different things. So why would you not make adjustments? A lot of weird stuff happened in game 3. More turnovers for OKC than Indiana. That's fixable for OKC. OKC did not have great pickup points. That's fixable for OKC. One of the problems here is that you talked about 4-4 on the road in the playoffs. They're 0-8 against the spread because one, the books have an exaggerated number on them based off of the handle that they have on them to win the title, but also because there is just kind of it doesn't encapsulate how the Thunder get on the road, but they're not a team that absolutely loses every close game that they're in. They have beaten teams when it's been close down the stretch on the road. That's why they are not under 500 on the road in these playoffs. And we're not talking about that as an even bigger comment. I think OKC comes through with a great defensive effort here. I think the Pacers struggle to score. They make some adjustments on Tyrese Halliburton, and they get it done here to even the series 2-2 going back to OKC.
All right, Matt and Haize are on the record with their predictions. Now it's your turn. Let us know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. Get your predictions in the comments. The news around Kevin Durant, it's moving fast, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down, so we're going to keep talking about it, whether Haize likes it or not. John Gambadoro of Arizona Sports 98.7 says he expects Durant to be traded by next week. Locked On Heat host Wes Goldberg says the Heat are uniquely positioned to acquire Durant. Here's why.
If you're trading Durant, you're doing it so that you can make your team cheaper and you can create flexibility to build around Devin Booker long term. That's the idea. It's a non-negotiable. You have to get under the second apron. And that's where I think Miami has a huge advantage here, is that they could provide cap relief without having to include that third team. And that's where Duncan Robinson's contract comes in. 50% guaranteed at about $20 million a year. And as long as this deal is done before the end of June, which is when Brian Windhorst says all of these things are basically going to be happening, any team acquiring Duncan Robinson can waive that contract and save 50% of that contract against the cap. So $10 million against the cap. That's enough to get Phoenix under the second apron. They could say, here's Andrew Wiggins or Terry Rozier, your choice. Phoenix, you pick. Plus Duncan Robinson. And then you get into that sliding scale of young players plus draft capital. Hakez, Jovic, Ware, the 3 first-round picks that Miami's able to move, including the 20th pick in this June's draft. You get in that sliding scale, different combinations, whatever works. That's where the negotiations take place.
Okay, will cap nerding win the day on a Kevin Durant deal? Matt Moore, his eyes are wide open. We'll find out why. Does Miami have the inside track with those flexible contracts, Matt? Or do you think it's another team? Is Wes Goldberg dreaming a little bit here?
Remember when we talked to Locked On Suns earlier this week, and they were like, I think we're going to get more than what people think for Kevin Durant. If you walk away with Andrew Wiggins and Duncan Robinson and Nikola Jovic for Kevin Durant, oh my God. Oh my God. Maybe Khalil Ware. Maybe that's it. Okay. You trade Khalil Ware, and this can make a little bit of sense. All right. You got the center that Phoenix has been looking for. I've reported on that they were looking for center options to put next to Booker. You get a young center next to Book, hyper athletic, good production. That can work. Maybe. I get Wes's argument here, and I'm not ruling it out. It's just like, oh my God, Haize, like Kevin Durant still has to, he has to be worth more, no matter how complicated the cap mechanics have to be, than Andrew Wiggins being the best piece coming back. That is terrifying if I'm a Suns fan. That is horrifying if I'm a Suns fan.
That sounds like the exact thing Pat Riley would walk into the room with, like, we got 3 first-round picks and Wiggins. That's enough to get us Kevin Durant, right? Like, I love West, but West is drinking a little too much of the hometown Kool-Aid on that one, because if that's what it comes down to get Kevin Durant, that's terrible. And I think you're overlooking too, like, if Kevin Durant were to go to the Heat in that move, those first round picks aren't going to be worth anything, because they're at least going to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference at bare minimum. Whereas a team like the Houston Rockets or even the Spurs, they're offering picks that aren't necessarily tied to just their success. They're picks from other teams. In the case of the Rockets, it'd be the Phoenix's own picks back that could be way more valuable. And don't even get me talking about the players that you're offering. I love Khalil Ware. Make no mistake about it. I think he's going to be a really good center and big in this league. But you look at some of the young players that both the Spurs, the Rockets, and some of these other teams have to offer. Come on. Like, I think even the Timberwolves have better picks to offer than the Miami Heat. I could be wrong on that one, but like, what are we doing here? I listen, no shot at West at all. You got to do what you got to do to try to get your team your guy, but that is not a good trade for Kevin Durant at all. And if that's what it takes to get Kevin Durant, oh my, how the mighty have fallen.
Do you buy the part of his argument that the Suns, with all of the cap hoops that they may have to jump through, may like the idea of doing something simple, particularly if they are interested in making this an accelerated timeline on the trade? If they're interested in doing this before the actual NBA draft, which is less than 2 weeks away, should they seek simple?
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I think once you have a direction, like, you find teams, like, I know they'd have to make a precursor trade to get under the second tax apron, but they're $11 million over the second tax apron. They have 2 contracts that they can move to get there. I think if you are sure about what you're getting back in the Kevin Durant trade from Houston or the Spurs with these young players, you could find a team to dump Grayson Allen off to. You can find a team to send another team to, maybe attach some seconds. I think once you pick a direction, it's easy to find teams if you're not necessarily looking for great value back. So I don't think the Suns are going to have a huge issue getting under the second tax apron if they really need to make this Kevin Durant trade happen. And maybe that's just me assuming.
Here's a different question. Okay, yeah, they might prefer it. Was Matt Ishbia one? Does he really want to take this big of an L on trading for Kevin Durant? You traded Mikal Bridges and all your picks to get Kevin Durant and Cam Johnson, and you walk away. You wind up coming back with some not great picks and Andrew Wiggins. Oh my God, Doug.
Well, it does come from real estate, so I think you try to sell anything. You try to really just goose it up in the description, right? So we'll see. I like Haize's idea. There's always a team willing to take Grayson Allen, no matter what. There is always a team willing to take Grayson Allen. All right, coming up on Locked On NBA, we've got updates on the Knicks coaching search. Have they finally moved on from trying to take someone else's head coach, and are they going to interview some other names? We'll have that. Plus, make or trade. We'll talk about some teams that have some interesting options as it comes to the NBA draft less than 2 weeks away. That's all coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA Finals, they are at full throttle. They can't get any more full throttle than this, folks, and I guess unless we get to a Game 7. Highlight dunks, wild momentum swings, and players showing up in huge moments. If you're locked into every game like I am, why not turn all of that energy into a win? FanDuel makes it super easy to get in on the action. I've been tracking playoff performances and jumping into same-game parlays all series long based on how things unfold. You can even combine live bets as the game changes. There are just more ways to play smart and cash in. OKC still a 6-point favorite tonight. They're favorites to win the series, according to FanDuel. Or if you want to have a little bit more fun with it, you can get odds on either team to break the Boston Celtics single-game NBA Finals steals record. That's 19 or more steals recorded. Now, it is plus 10,000, but I believe in TJ McConnell. Here's the best part. If you're new to FanDuel, now's the perfect time. Sign up, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets and a lot more if that steal record goes down. So why wait? Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Sam Amick of The Athletic writes that Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins have emerged as head coaching candidates for the New York Knicks, who are refocusing their search after being denied at least 5 times to speak to current NBA head coaches. More names could be added to this list. Let's get some intel here from Locked On Knicks, Alex Wolf, and who he thinks would be an interesting name.
You want to go anti-Tibbs with it? I mean, Taylor Jenkins ran one of the longest rotations in the league throughout the year, did some of the most experimenting and everything else. I think that's good. Although there has been, I think I've seen some stuff about his offensive acumen maybe leaves a little to be desired in terms of how he runs the offense, but maybe that had something to do with personnel. I don't know. I mean, he's clearly run a team with a star point guard in John Morant and could run into roughly the same situation with the Knicks with Jalen Brunson.
Haize, what do these first 2 names tell us about what the Knicks are possibly looking for?
That they finally have come to their senses and they're doing something smart. I mean, like this, they're going after guys that have experience. You look at Taylor Jenkins. If you take away the season that was riddled by injury for that Memphis Grizzlies team, he has almost a 60% win percentage there with the Memphis Grizzlies. You look at Mike Brown as well. He's a coach that is definitely at least a floor raiser there, and I think he's just a really good coach. I like Taylor Jenkins for this team. I think he's found out ways to balance offenses with a lot of players and things like that. I like him a lot for the team. I still think they should be looking at Mike Malone, but it seems like they're looking at everybody but Mike Malone. So there's that. So Taylor, I think, makes a lot of they both make sense, but Taylor would be my kind of preferred option there for the Knicks.
Why not Frank Vogel? Like, why not Frank Vogel? Right? Okay, question. You don't want to go Michael Malone because you think he's too like Tibbs. I disagree, but whatever. Taylor Jenkins has never coached a championship team. Never done it. Okay, he's coached young guys, and he's been an assistant coach on a championship level team with the Bucks. But Budenholzer's got like that tree has a pretty standard history of having trouble with adjustments versus Vogel does have a history of making pretty key adjustments. He coached the Pacers to Eastern Conference Finals. It's good revenge on the Pacers, right? It's a good bonus angle. Coached a championship team with the Lakers, knows how to get along with superstar talent. To me, Vogel makes the most sense here. It gets you a defensive coach. The offense might be worse. You got enough firepower. You don't need to worry about your offense. Your defense needs to get back to an elite level. And of those options, I think Frank Vogel's your best bet.
What do you think, Haize? Vogel?
Yeah, I like Vogel a lot. I didn't even think about Frank Vogel. Vogel makes a lot of sense for that New York Knicks team as well. So get Frank back as a head coach.
All right, the NBA draft is less than 2 weeks away, and the smoke and mirrors game is well underway. Here's Locked On 76ers trying to make heads or tails of a report that the Philadelphia 76ers, who own the 3rd pick, hosted top 5 prospect VJ Edgecombe for a dinner with Tyrese Maxey.
Here's the thing that jumps out to me, and it's one simple word. THE. The. It's not A. He's the prime candidate, according to Jake Fisher, for the 76ers to take at number 3. This is all but just saying verbatim, yeah, this is who the Sixers want to get after here.
The thing that really jumped out to me is right after that report came out, the Sixers are going to work out Ace Bailey. They're going to have a private workout with him. I know it's only 2 weeks, but they still have a long ways to go before they make up their mind. If you are the Charlotte Hornets who picked number 4, you're not going to go after an Ace Bailey because you already have a Brandon Miller. The guys who are in play are VJ Edgecombe and you think Trey Johnson. If you are like the 76ers and you're saying, I really like VJ Edgecombe, well, I'm going to the Utah Jazz and saying, what you guys willing to give me for that 3rd pick?
All right, let's play a little game of trade or make. Matt, should the 76ers make the pick at 3, whoever that is, whether it be VJ Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, or trade down with Charlotte or Utah, as suggested there by Keith Pompey?
I guess trade down if you're going to get a prospect back. Like, I think VJ Edgecombe is the best player here to take at 3. You haven't traded Embiid. Like, you still have Embiid, and you have Paul George, and you have Tyrese Maxey. Like, you made the conference. You made the conference semifinals like 3 years in a row. Embiid won the MVP. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't mind if you want to go for a rebuild, but go for the rebuild. Are they doing this too? Like, Jared McCain and then this guy? Are we doing 2 timelines? Because spoiler, it's not going to work. It never goes well. I don't understand the process here, Haize. I understand it's like them jumping up was a boon, but use that boon to push your team forward. They need to be shopping that pick, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get shopping the pick for sure. I understand that. I think just stay and just take the pick. I think there's really good talent there that you can get there at number 3. Unless you're sure that the player you have number 1 on your board, you can trade down and still get, whether that be with Charlotte or Utah or anybody else. But I think just take the pick, figure it out. I get the thing of not wanting to live in 2 timelines, but I think Maxey is young enough to where that timeline with McCain and whoever they pick here could still be a good one. Adem Bona is still a player that they have there I like as well. You just, to me, can't bet on this thing being around Joel Embiid anymore. That's the thing that you can't do. Like, if he's there, great, but I think they have to really start trying to build a team that still is good, even when Embiid is not going to be able to be on the court. And to me, to do that, you keep the number 3 pick and you keep it pushing.
Miles Bridges and the number 3 or number 4 for the number 3, and Paul George goes somewhere else, and Cat Filler goes to Charlotte. Maybe that makes sense. That gets Charlotte, VJ Edgecombe, the Sixers. I mean, look, if Fisher says that Edgecombe is the guy that they're looking at, Fisher's very plugged in on Philly. Like, he wrote a book on it. Like, he's pretty plugged in there. So I would think that they're probably going to hold on. To me, Miles Bridges, move off of Paul George, find somebody else to fill in assets. That makes the most sense, I think, for all sides.
All right, let's keep playing this game of trade or make. Let's go up a pick to the San Antonio Spurs, who lucked into the 2nd pick along with Philly and Dallas. I mean, they all moved up in the lottery. But the Spurs, interesting position with Dylan Harper, the projected pick. They've already got a lot of on-ball guards there with Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. Haize, should the Spurs make the pick at number 2, if it's Dylan Harper or anyone else, or should they consider trading away that pick for assets to win with Wemby now?
Man, that's a great question here. I am of the mind with the Spurs that they keep the pick here and they take it. But with that said, they are in a unique position to where if you can move this pick and still get talent young enough to where it still fits around the Fox and Wemby timeline, somewhere in between those 2 players, it'd be real enticing to do. I look at what they can get here at number 2, and I'm just like, I know it's not the most natural fit. I'd be more so looking to move on from Castle than I would moving the pick here, in my opinion.
I got a tough one for you, Haize. If you're the Orlando Magic and the Spurs call and they offer the number 2, Devin Vassell, and whatever other young guy you want to throw in, maybe another pick for Franz Wagner, what do you do?
I take that all day, every day.
Okay. So because that gives Orlando a starting point guard who can score, right? Fits with their kind of mold, repositions the team, takes that tension off of the Franz Paolo stuff. Franz next to Victor Wembanyama. Oh my God. I like that better than any of the alternatives. I like that better. Like, KD's better, no question, but long term, I like that better than KD. Yeah. That to me seems like it solves a lot of the problems.
That's really interesting. Let us know if you have any other trade ideas on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA. But before we go, let's talk about your teams. The Bulls at number 12. Should they trade that pick or should they make it?
Keep the pick. Just make the pick. The Bulls, when they have traded down in prior drafts, we always get screwed over. So no, just keep the pick.
Hey, Derek Queen, if he's there.
Oh, yeah. How about the Nuggets at, wait a minute, I'm trying to find a single draft pick here. Maybe my eyes are deceiving me. I couldn't find one. Matt, should they get involved at all in this? Should the Denver Nuggets get involved at all in this draft?
Oh, for the love of God, please no. Please no more young guys. Please, God, please. I like Julian and I like Peyton. They're really fun to cover. Those guys are really good. But oh my God, this team needs veterans. I don't anticipate them doing anything. I wrote this week on the Denver Dig about how they need to hire a president of basketball operations, and that should come sometime next week. One of the reasons that they're not concerned is they're not anticipating getting involved in the draft. Now, I still think they need one because there's so many trades that are going to happen on that night. Maybe that they need to be able to be involved and have a clear line of decision making in place. But no, they need to stay out of this draft at all costs. They are, and they know that. The word I've heard is that they're more likely to scour the veteran minimum free agent market than they are to draft anyone.
Well, if you're a Denver Nuggets fan and you are despairing over the idea that you won't be able to really celebrate anything on draft night, it could be worse. You could be New York, who forfeited a second-round pick in this upcoming draft as part of the tampering violation related to signing Jalen Brunson. So that happened.
Crime never pays.
All right. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day and for being rad dads. Father's Day this weekend. Shout out to all the dads out there, but especially Papa Haize, Haize's dad, who I hear watches the show. Shout out. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Enjoy our beautiful game tonight. Check out Locked On NBA Game Night. They will be recapping Game 4. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA.